Good evening, everybody. Everything new under the sun. The days are getting darker quicker, and it's amazing to see the news fly by. Interesting article that I want to take a look at, and it's related to the Shemittah. Now, we've been talking about the Shemittah on this channel before, and you've probably heard many people speak about it. But it's the Shemittah is a returning year and time frame that usually signals economic trouble, a time of return. So, what is a Shemitah year? A Sabbath year is also called a sabbatical year or a Shavuot, and it's the seventh year of a 7-year agricultural cycle mandated by the Torah for the land of Israel, still observed in contemporary Judaism. During Shemitah, the land is left to lay fallow, and all agricultural activity, including plowing, planting, pruning, harvesting, is forbidden. Other cultivation techniques may be performed as a preventative measure, not to improve the growth of trees or plants. Additionally, any fruits which grow of their own accord are deemed hefker or ownerless and may be picked by anybody. A variety of laws also apply to sale, consumption, and disposal of Shemitah produce. All debts, except those of foreigners, were to be remitted. And you saw that last sentence there. So it's a time of economic return when money kind of returns back to the original person. And it's a time, as seen in history, as when big economic troubles have happened. So we've discussed this before. When is the next Shemitah? Well, it's in the year 5782. When is that on the Jewish calendar? Well, that started September 7th, 2021, and it goes until September 26, 2022. And so that's going to be the next sabbatical year. Not Shemitah, rather, I should clarify. The next sabbatical year, which is interesting because that's effectively the year of return. All right, so let's look at this. So Jonathan Cahn was one of the guys who brought up the Shemitah recently, or over the last number of years. So the cycle in Jewish terms is a year of return. It appears to be related to economic conditions. When observed by Jews, and items were returned in biblical times, it very much would have affected local economies. As lands were returned, slaves freed. Some would gain money and assets. Some would lose money and assets. So it's a sorting, a leveling of the playing field, if you will, in a sort of way. So I said in this, when I made this one, the next Shemittah is 2021 to 2022. And so here's some indications of when the last Shemitah cycles occurred. So we had the 2000-2001 dot-com bust. In 2007-2008, we had the big real estate and banking bust. And then we go to 2014-2015, and the question was, what's going to happen there? And it kind of floated along. There was little things. But we're coming upon, of course, the next one here, and that's what I want to talk about with you today. This is from Israel's365news.com. There's a financial crisis every sabbatical year. This year is primed to be mother of them all, Israeli Economist warns. Look at the date on it, October 6, 2021. All right, so big things. High watch period in the fall every year. For the Jewish festivals, Rosh Hashanah, which many believe, me included, will be a rapture event one of these years. But this economic collapse and trouble that is coming is part and parcel, I believe, of what brings in the 7-year period. If we go back to this for a second, and I scroll down to the timeline of the return of the Lord as I understand it, if I can find it here. I think what happens is economic collapse and war happen. One triggers the other. I don't know which order, but that all precipitates and causes a world leader to come into power and to say, I'm going to fix all this. And everyone believes in him and agrees with him. And For 3.5 years, he fools the world, and he makes people think that everything is awesome and that he's going to fix everything. And then at the midpoint of the after 3.5 years, he causes the abomination of desolation. This is the midpoint of the 7-year period. Well, I believe that economic collapse happens prior to the 7-year period. And this is the time zone where we are, right at the end of 2021. I believe it kicks off the 7-year period. I could be wrong. Others believe that too. So we'll see what happens. It's getting late in the game. But when you look at articles like this, you start to wonder, it could indeed be that close. Let's see what this says. The current Hebrew year, 5782, began on Rosh Hashanah. This is the festival that we expect the rapture to happen. Or I do, anyways. I think the rapture will happen at the midpoint of the 7-year period, at the just before the Antichrist is revealed to the world by way of the abomination of desolation. I don't believe he's revealed to the world at the start of the 7-year period, and so the revealing, again, we will be raptured when he is revealed, but revealed to everybody, not just Christians. It goes on. So Rosh Hashanah, that's when 5782 started. And it begins a new Shemittah, or sabbatical year. Most people believe that the Shemittah has implications only for farmers based in Israel. However, in biblical times, all debts, except those of foreigners, were to be remitted. One Israeli economist has chronicled a correlation between the 7-year Shemittah cycle and major economic events. If his theory is correct, the world is about to enter a major crisis. And again, when you look at this timeline, could it be accurate? There's a lot of things happening, right? There's a lot of news happening. Did you hear about the rolling blackouts all over China because of energy issues? Did you hear about all the energy issues in Europe? And of course, you know about all the other authoritarian sorts of things happening across the world, the whole world, not just individual countries, but the whole world. We live in an incredible time, and I'm at a loss for words to describe, what we're living through right now and what's coming upon us, I think, very quickly. So Rafi Farber, an Israeli economist and financial journalist who blogs and videos under the pen The Endgame Investor, combines Torah knowledge with financial wisdom. It says every 7 years of the Shemittah, there is a debt reset for the entire world. Farber explained this begins on Rosh Hashanah, which is the new year for the world that is marked by Jews, because we are a kingdom of priests and represent the world to God. The Jewish New Year is actually Passover, it says. The most famous recent landmark of this Shemitah cycle was 2008, 14 years ago. This, of course, was the global financial crisis, and we've been kind of printing money out of thin air and kind of hobbling along ever since that. We've never actually resolved the situation that happened there. He goes on, before that was 2001. 3 Shemittah cycles ago, Farber said this was the NASDAQ bubble bursting. He goes through 1980, 87, Black Monday, various things that are happening. But let's skip along here. You can read this article. I'll try and remember to put it in the description of the video. 1973 doesn't sound like a big year in economic history, but it was, he noted. Most historians point to 71 as the end of the gold standard. Nixon tried to get back on the U.S. on the gold standard in 71, but failed. His last attempt was in 73, and that was when the last remnants of gold standard were abandoned, and that was when the dollar went entirely off the gold standard. Okay, so a financial change, a financial switchover. 50 years before that, before 1973, was 1923, also a Shemittah year, which was the hyperinflation crisis in the Weimar Republic. The crisis generated enormous political instability in Europe, all right? So a massive inflation of the currency in Germany that happened at that time, which caused effectively economic collapse. 50 years before that was 1873, when the dollar went off silver standard. Silver was demonetized and the dollar went to the gold standard. He ends with saying, this year may be a jubilee year, and we are primed for a global collapse. This idea of the jubilee year is important because I think God's maybe going to end things on a jubilee year as well. So it would Makes sense that it kicks off the 7 years and it ends the 7 years to kind of bookmark or bookend the tribulation period, the 7-year period spoken of by Daniel. So I think it would make sense that it would start this year. If the 7-year period doesn't start this year, or in this period from 2021 to 2022, September 2022, on the Jewish calendar, then it wouldn't make as much sense unless we have something incorrect in the dates or the timing there. It wouldn't make sense for the 7-year period to start until maybe the next Jubilee starts, right? So that would push off the Antichrist, and we would have another 7 years on Earth before that 7-year period. I think we're very, very far along, and it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue otherwise because of the way things are going and how fast things are going. But he says we are primed for a global collapse. It's not going to be pretty, and people are going to need gold and silver to survive it. Now, I don't agree with that because the Bible says in the last days, gold and silver are going to be thrown into the streets. I think that's going to happen around the time that the wrath of God happens, the last 3.5 years in the 7-year period. So there may be some value in it prior to that. Certainly, you need to be prepared. Hedge your bets, as they say. Have food, have water, maybe have some gold, silver, various things. Be ready for all circumstances. Speaking about myself personally, I may indeed lose my job. The government of Canada has come down and said, you know what? All federal workers need to get you-know-what. And if they don't get you-know-what, they're going to be fired. And that's coming down the end of October, I think. And just like in the U.S., where Biden mandated all companies under 100 employees or greater to get you-know-what, I think that's very likely going to come to Canada too, and that would include my company at that point in time. And so I may be mandated. Will I get you-know-what or not? Will I sacrifice my job? Now, I don't believe it's the mark of the beast yet. Many disagree with me, but it's very, very close. The way they are implementing it, I'm not going to be able to buy or sell in many different ways. I still will be able to. We're not 100% there yet, but you can see it coming down the pipe where they're limiting what I can buy and sell. I won't be able to get on an airplane. I won't be able to get on a train. I won't be able to get on a ferry, a marine vehicle, without you-know-what. So time's going to get really hard for me if I choose not to. And I'm not sure that I'm ready for that yet. What comes with the mark of the beast is the worship of the beast. And we're not there yet, but this is certainly an escalation, a ramp up, where they're going to take away your economic ability. They're going to cut you out of the economy. And that's exactly what they said in Australia. If you don't get you-know-what, we're going to cut you out of the economy. And those are pretty much verbatim what the leaders in Australia are saying. He goes on, that's going to be the only way to use money to engage in commerce. I just hope we can all get through it, he says. We also need a lot of faith in God. Now, this is a rabbi, not a Christian. We do need faith in God. We need to be prepared. We need to know that this is coming, and also recognize that very, very hard times are coming. We need to prepare our hearts and minds, get ready for that. I need to get myself ready for the potential fact that I may indeed have to come to the decision to get it or not. And I may lose my job if I don't. And that's going to be a big decision and a big day. It's just incredible the times we're living. Folks, be prepared for economic collapse. That's just one of the things in conjunction, I believe, with war that kicks off the 7-year period. And I think we could be very close to that. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Let me know where you think we are on the timeline. Am I way off? And what happens if it doesn't occur this year? What will the timeline be after that? I don't know. Anyways, leave your comments. Let me know. We'll see you guys in the next video.